All right. So VectorLive is really like once you get the hang of it, it is pretty simple to use, and basically it is where all of like the interview and training information goes. So people need to be in here so that we could schedule them for interviews, so that we could set them for training and then get them launched so that they have a rep account and a rep ID and that type of stuff. And VectorLive, like obviously your first few days, I don't like, we know your hours, but one thing that it actually does that makes my life easy is it tracks your hours when you log in and when you log out. So the first thing that I want you to do when you come in is log into VectorLive. And basically there isn't that much on here that you're going to use. But if you look, it has on the main page, it has like the week's schedule. So a remote interview, if it says interview remote, a remote interview means that I'm doing it over the phone with the applicant, so they're not actually coming to the office. And interview in office obviously means that it's an interview in the office, right? For training, it shows you what time it starts, and if you want to get any of that information, the easiest way to do it is if you go to create or edit training. So if you wanted to look up a training, for example, you go to create a control panel, create or edit training. And this is the next training seminar. It says the 7th and the 8th. It says the times for them, who's running it, how many people are actually set for it right now. Or for interview, it's the same thing, create or edit interview. And it has all of the upcoming interviews. I try to put them in advance. If you see it getting close to like us not having any more in advance, just let me know and I'll make sure that I put some in. If it has an R over here, that means remote. So it means over the phone, not in office. So when you're scheduling applicants, you need to be conscious of that because so the remote interview is great. Personally, I use it for people that are way too far away, or if someone really can't make any of I want to get someone in for an interview as soon as possible. The longer that goes on between the period of time that you schedule someone for an interview and that their interview is, the higher the likelihood of that person forgetting or something coming up and that person not actually making it. So my goal is to get them in ideally the next day or the day after. But definitely my goal is always to get them in before the next training seminar so that if that person is available, that they could train that week instead of them coming in the next week and then training, you know what I mean? So like I'm always conscious of this week I'm running training on Friday and Saturday. So my goal for today, the reason I actually put in an extra interview was so that I could get those people interviewed before training and potentially pump them, get them in this training. Next week, if you look, I'm running training Thursday and Friday. So my goal is going to be to get everyone in for interviews before Thursday so that they could potentially start that week. If you go, you're never going to use sales. There's nothing that you're ever going to do here. Right now, you don't need to worry about reports or library. You may use control panel every once in a while, but really everything's under recruiting and under applicants. So I'm going to get into some of this stuff in a second. But under applicants, you would use new call and you would use walk-ins. I'm going to explain those in a second. The other stuff actually goes. So we used to call everyone. We used to literally the office admin or the receptionist position back in the day. You would be sitting there making calls for hours. Now we do a lot of stuff through text, and the company actually made a text center that handles any of our iApps and that type of stuff, unless it's through our personal site. So the only thing you'd use under applicants is new call or walk-in. Personal recruits is actually the most important one. And really there's for the basics, the three semi-important ones to start are the personal recruits thing, PR lost text, and PR scheduled. So what personal recruits is one of the ways that applicants that our main source of recruiting is personal recruits, is representatives recommending friends. And we give people the opportunity to write down a few names in the interview, but the majority of it comes from training. There's an app that syncs with their phone, and they could basically just check everyone and submit them. So if you notice in our system, we have 30,000 people that have been recommended by reps. And it has their name, it has when they were recommended, it has the person who recommended them and how much that person sold, and it has the person's phone number and that type of stuff. I'm going to teach you that type of stuff later. Then there's PR lost text, and these are people that got texted from the text center and responded, but never actually set up an interview. So like they texted back and said something, but they never actually set up an interview. So if you look over here at this blue button, if you click on that, it shows you what that person said. So they sent the initial text. I'd be very interested. Unfortunately, I'm leaving for school in New York soon. If I could do it as a summer job, blah, blah, blah. So you can actually see what the text conversation was before you actually call that person. And again, that's something that I'll teach later. You don't really have to worry about that right now, but that's something that when I teach like PR lost text, that's where you would go for that. Then there's PR's schedule. And right now there aren't going to be any on here, but that's if a rep recommends somebody through the app and it texts them and they schedule an interview, it will show you a list of all the people that are set for upcoming interviews and who they were referred by, so that there's certain things that I'm going to do with that. But again, you don't need to worry about that right now. Miscellaneous has a few things. You don't need to worry about callbacks anymore. You don't need to worry about reminder calls anymore. I'm going to go through office communication a little bit. Then there's interviews, which I don't think you're going to have to use the drop down for office. It's just always going to be on Morris. There's training. You don't need to worry about online training. You don't need to worry about launches. So as far as scheduling somebody for an interview, there's two ways of doing it. One way is new call, which is typically what I do, and one way is walk-ins. And so I typically just do new call, even though we're not actually like calling anymore, really. We're just like texting. So let's say I wanted to set, I'll just do myself. Owen Trap, you need to confirm. Gender, phone number 732-296-41, phone type, cell phone. And so this is something I want everyone to write down is we always use 07005 as the zip code. And the reason for that is if you use a zip code that's not in Morris County, it will schedule them for another office. So always use 07005 as the zip code. And so I'm a duplicate caller because obviously I launched from training and tons of reps have had me as their contacts and they recommended me. So I would just go to not a duplicate, not a match. And then on this page, it's sources. So what that means is this is for statistics to be able to like track things at the end of the year. So did I apply online? Was I through Craigslist? Pretty much the only ones that you're going to do are personal recruits or social media. So like if I'm somebody that applied through a Facebook Jumpstart, you would go to social media and then you go to Facebook Jumpstart, right? Or if I was referred by a rep, you would go to personal recruit and then you would probably do family and friends or whatever. But so family and friends, always just do 18 or older. To make life easier, and do no for student. And then the last page. So this is like a little like whatever. It's naturally going to put you on the page to schedule them for an in-office interview, which is obviously good. If you want to schedule them for a remote interview, on this third one, you would click switch to remote, and then it would just show you a list of remote interviews. But yeah, so you go down, you check whichever box they're scheduled for, whichever interview that person's scheduled for, and then I always do doesn't have an email. I don't love the automated email that it sends out for the interview, so I always do doesn't have an email, and then you literally just click schedule, and it like confirms that you have all the right information, and you confirm and end it, and they get set. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is you can also do walk-ins. So under applicants, there's walk-ins. This might be the easier way of doing it, where it tells you which information you need. And so let's say for me, Owen, track, now 705 6041 cell. I'm turning off SMS, doesn't have email, personal recruit, family and
So are we
friends.
just checking off text messaging because it's you, or for normal applicants?
For normal applicants, that's a good question. So for normal applicants also, I don't like the automated stuff that they get. I send a reminder text for interviews myself.
So no email, no.
Exactly. So, and then you go down to qualified, and it will show you a list of all upcoming interviews. Just make sure to be conscious of the fact that R means remote. And then you literally just, you click on whichever one and you enter the applicant, and it's done, and that person's set for the interview. So another thing that you will use is you'll use the applicant search function. And really, this is pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory. One thing to be conscious of is whenever I use it, I always just do all for past. Like if you're looking someone up, so like if let's say somebody called the office and you answered the phone and they said, I have an interview for next Tuesday. I want to change it. I'll be like, cool, let me grab your phone number real quick. I would go to applicant search. I would go to pass. I would go to all. I would just search their phone number. And then when you do search, it will bring that person up, and you can edit their interview or whatever. So there is an interview today at 3:15, right? So to check that log, you can. There's two ways you can do it. You can either go to the main page and you click interview log, and you'll see that there's only one person. I put myself in. So this is how you cancel. I'll click on my name and scroll down to cancel from interview, and now I'm canceled. So you can either do the interview log from the home page and click on the interview and click interview log, or you can go to interviews and you can click Thursday, the 6th, 3:45, and you just go to interview log and it'll pull that up. In terms of like, if you were to check an applicant in for an interview, you could do the same thing. You could click on it, you go to interview results, or you could go over here to interview and click on interview results. And it's saying that because the interview, it's saying that it's not close enough to the interview to start like putting the results in. But basically, when you go to interview results, there will be a checkbox under show for next to each of the people's names as it gets closer to the interview, and you can and you just check the show box, and that's it. You don't need to like close out the interview or any of that stuff. I'm not even going to teach that part. So one other thing is up here, there's a bell. And when this is orange, that means there's a new office communication. And so under miscellaneous, there's also office communication. And you can actually see, so you could actually, like, there's certain people that are scheduled for interviews, and you could see when, like, they might text back. And if they text back, you could see what it is. So some of them are like people looking to reschedule or asking questions. And that's like an important thing to stay on top of. But pretty much that's everything for VectorLive. Are there any like questions or anything that I missed?
No, I do.
No, I don't think so.
Cool.